President Trump is still under an illusion that he can talk some sense into Putin, and he doesn't want to irritate Putin. He doesn't want to anger him. He doesn't want to make him his enemy or whatever. So he still hopes to charm Russia into his arms or somehow.
Tomorrow, in the Turkish city of Istanbul, we will see. We will see whether Russia's Vladimir Putin sits down with Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky and makes a start, thrashing out the terms of some ceasefire on the way to peace. And maybe we should add Paul the other one. I am not the only one. Is more than a bit sceptical. Putin means it when he says he wants peace at all. And I'm not the only one, not by a long chalk, who believes, well, maybe he's just not that serious and won't turn up in Istanbul at all. That said, President Trump has been saying today he doesn't know the answer. He'll say, well, we'll see. And that is what we will do. We will see. But Trump is surely aware he's not exactly a bystander or a spectator in this. Trump is surely the last player in the free world capable of forcing Putin to sit down and talk. And if he doesn't do that, punish Russia, arm Ukraine in a way that makes the Kremlin stop playing for time and get serious about peace. Now, let's get the thoughts of Boris Bondarev, the former Russian diplomat to the United Nations. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Can I ask you, do you see any serious possibility that Vladimir Putin will turn up in Istanbul and sit down and talk?
Well, Putin is famous for some unpredictability, and he has shown it before, but I really doubt that he will go to Istanbul and to sit at the table with President Zelensky, because it's not just what he wants. He wants to sit with President Trump and to discuss the world matters, to discuss how to divide the world between spheres of influence. And Ukraine doesn't fit in the worldview of President Putin. Ukraine is not an equal country. President Zelensky is not an equal partner for Vladimir Putin. That is why he is not going to go to Istanbul, and he's going to send some of his people, so which can be at the equal level with Zelensky.
Yeah, well, Zelensky is very clear. He will sit down only with President Putin, in which case, will there be any meeting at all? And what will be the point if there is?
Well, first of all, there will be, I guess, some people from Russia at some level. And of course, Zelensky is not going to Istanbul alone. He will bring with him his ministers, some other guys who can sit with Russians and discuss something. But I believe that the results can be just some declaration that they discuss some issues and they agree to further consultations to continue this process, just as it was agreed during the first Russian-US meeting in Riyadh earlier. Yeah, they just agreed to consult further, and we see no tangible results so far.
But in which case, if there are talks, they will be entirely inconclusive and achieve pretty much nothing. Will that then mean that Donald Trump has to take some sort of step, has to take some sort of action against Vladimir Putin and Russia? He has the power to do that, to turn the screw. Do you see any realistic likelihood that he would do that?
I believe it seems to me that President Trump is still under an illusion that he can talk some sense into Putin, and he doesn't want to irritate Putin. He doesn't want to anger him. He doesn't want to make him his enemy or whatever. So he still hopes to charm Russia into his arms or somehow. So I think that if he has to do something decisive against Russia to support Ukraine, then I believe it's not this time yet.
Okay, so he will not take the step. Maybe he'll keep on talking about it, but you don't think he's going to do that. And from Putin's point of view, what is Putin thinking now? I mean, when it comes to the actions that he takes and the way that's going to go down in Russia, does he have to worry about hardliners in Russia? He has to avoid antagonizing them.
Well, first of all, hardliners and doves in Russia, they exist only in some kind of information sphere, and they do not have any real say in politics. All decisions or key decisions are taken by Putin himself. That's how it works, unfortunately. And he doesn't have a lot to be worried about people who may not be, in line with his actions, because they will tell themselves that Putin knows the best.
Yes.
He knows better what to do. So they will accept any his decision.
So tell me, Boris, if Putin is playing for time, purely playing for time here, how much time? What does he want to do with that time before there is some sort of movement towards a ceasefire in Ukraine?
He calculates that the Western support for Ukraine will be over at one point. This Western coalition for Ukraine will be eventually falling apart, and it is now. The process is underway now. The United States walks away, and then Ukraine will be alone and will be subdued by Russia eventually. Maybe it can take months or maybe a year or something, but I believe Putin believes that he has this time. He has more time than Ukraine has.
So this is playing for a good deal of time. You think that Putin's real game here is to keep the war going for months, maybe a year, maybe longer, until Ukraine is sufficiently weak to be entirely vulnerable to Russia. Is it possible, in your judgment, to do that, to play that very cynical game and still stay on side with President Trump and America? Because America still would have us believe they want to see an end to this war and they're ready to apply pressure at some point. Russia can't keep on stalling indefinitely, surely.
Well, it depends on what world and what peace President Trump and his administration would like to see at the end. Because for now, it's not very clear what peace they imagine for themselves. Because there is no such thing as a peace. Every peace treaty, every peace settlement has its concrete parameters, technical, issues and all. And it all depends. So for Putin, a normal peaceful agreement will be one thing. And for Trump, the United States, it can be something different. So, and this process of aligning these two very different visions hasn't yet started yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So last weekend, we had the leaders of France, Germany, we had the British leader there, and Poland, all laying down an ultimatum to the Kremlin. Have a ceasefire, come to the talks, or we will act against you with harsh sanctions. That's what those European leaders said. If there's no progress in Istanbul, one presumes they will have to act on that. They were ready to act on that, according to their statement last week. Now, if that's the case, Boris, will we see a parting of the ways between the European allies and America?
Well, it's an interesting question because, yes, European leaders made this so-called ultimatum to Putin, and Putin just ignored it. He counterplayed it with his proposal to have this meeting in Istanbul, and Europeans just shut them up, and they keep silent. And President Trump says, wow, it's a great idea. Let's go to Istanbul. And that's it. And European leaders do nothing. The time for this ultimatum expires. They do nothing. They say, maybe we will see after the meeting in Istanbul. But what if after this meeting in Istanbul, Putin will say, okay, let's make another meeting in 1 month, for instance, in Ankara or in Riyadh or wherever else. And the Europeans will say, okay, let's wait. Let's wait with our sanctions. We will see what happened then. Mm-hmm. So it's very, weak positions, weak policy. And Putin gets more emboldened. Putin gets more certain that Europe cannot provide any real resistance. And Donald Trump, his administrations poses themselves, quite aloof to these European things. So, it's not very good for Ukraine. It's not very good for European security.
So maybe a very, very important dilemma about to face those European leaders at and after that meeting in Istanbul. Boris Bondarev, former Russian diplomat to the United Nations, thank you.